Hey folks, Real Honesty with Jarmitlin. I'm Jarmitlin. This is a Halloween themed series, so to speak. It's top 25 favorite horror movies ever. Which, look, I've had to edit this thing 3-4 times. This is the most definitive list I could come up with, and it's a mixture of cheesy horror, horror I really enjoyed, horror that made me shit myself almost, horror that's kept me up at night. Like, some of these movies actually legit, if I watch them, I have to watch them on a day that I don't have to work the next day because sometimes I won't sleep. Because just for some reason, some movies, affect people worse than others. And sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Sometimes it sticks with you. You can discuss stuff with people afterwards. Sometimes it just sticks with you, like psychologically, you're just scarred. And there's a lot of really, really good stuff with a variety of horror. Psychological horror, hammer horror, monster horror, slasher horror, a whole lot of stuff. And I mean, this, again, it's 25, movies, just horror movies of a variety that I just really, really personally enjoyed. I could have probably made this a top 50, but it would have kind of gotten a little ridiculous until about number 35, because I struggled a bit to come up with anything that really was like great after 30. So I just cut 5 off and just made it top 25. And I want to thank WWE NXT Guy for suggesting this show topic to me. When it was originally going to be just a regular question, I was just going to talk about my 5 favorite horror movies. And I decided, wait a second, I could come up with the top 25 favorite horror movies, or however the conversation went. Sorry, Justin, I tend to forget exactly how it went, but I know you suggested it, so thank you very much for that. Without any further ado, let's get on with this. So this will probably just be, depending on how long I go on these shows, I don't think I'm going to go more than 20 minutes. So I'm guessing probably about 5 different 5 episodes for this. Could end up being 6, because I could get involved in some of these and be really, really descriptive. Some of the placements might surprise you, some of the placements may not. Some of you guys may not have known that I'm a fan of horror movies, but I am. Bad horror movies, good horror movies, and the like. So anyway, number 25, Sleepaway Camp. Ever wonder what happens if you watch your sibling get decapitated in a boating accident? Because your dad's, being a little frisky in a boat and being distracted? Well, Angela got to find that out because her brother gets decapitated. She gets sent to a home where they raise her and everything, and then she gets sent to a camp. A camp that essentially is about every 80s cheesy horror movie saying that it could be. It's not Camp Crystal Lake, don't get me wrong. There is a killer on the loose, but he's not wearing a hockey mask. And Sleepaway Camp may seem like an odd choice, even though it has some pretty good horror elements and a decent story, cheesy acting, but a pretty bang ending. I mean, and by the way, obvious spoilers if you haven't seen some of this stuff. But only one of these movies that I have on this list has even come out recently. Everything else is at least a year or 2 old. So, sorry guys, but there's going to be spoilers. With Sleepaway Camp, it came out in 1983. And then, of course, you have Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. We don't talk about Sleepaway Camp 2 and 3. Because 2, I was like, okay, they were going to make number 2. Then it was to number, and of course I'm going to proceed to talk about them. 2 was filmed, it ended, it was ridiculous. And then you had 3, and 3 ended, and 2 and 3 were almost filmed back to back. And they were ridiculous. And then number 4 sat on the shelf for years after some getting filmed, funding getting cut, and then doing the rest of it. And it was a really jarring mess. It is on Shudder, though. Shudder's a great horror movie streaming service, by the way. They haven't sponsored me. I'm not trying to say that. I'm not trying to do this to give them publicity. Because I get sponsored. It's just I think they're a really good streaming service. And they're only like $5, $6, I think $4.99 a month. If you're in the U.S., I don't know about Canada or whatever, but that's actually where I originally saw Sleepaway Camp at. I'd seen bits and pieces of it before, but I had never been able to really see it because Netflix didn't have it, at least at the time I saw. But back to the movie. So, Sleepaway Camp. Angela's here. There's a creepy cook in the soup kitchen they have. He meets an unfortunate demise because he's hating on Angela, which is a little uncomfortable. Let's just say he kind of, becomes his own meal. I mean, it's like you stay away from the boiling pot, kids. That's what you do. An arrow goes through a guy's throat. A lot of people tend to end up dying. This boy is attracted to Angela. she seems reserved about, possibly getting intimate. I think they were saying she was only 12 or 13 years old at the time. Maybe 14. Not totally sure on the kids' ages. Because just because they say it in the movie, I mean, that doesn't really mean anything. I know that they were virtually kids playing them. And then, she's not really interested. She seems interested, and then she's not, and she pulls away and this kind of stuff, and there's more people dying. And you got the 2 camp counselors that are still alive, or 2 of the camp counselors that are still alive, because there are always camp counselors dying in this. You think, okay, somebody's looking out for Angela and killing people. Who could it be? Could it be one of the kids? Could it be the boyfriend? Could it be that the brother never died? Could it be the brother? Well, then you get to the end, and sorry, big spoiler here, but the 2 camp counselors, a boy and a man and woman, I forget their exact names. The names aren't really important. They spot Angela, who's holding a severed head. Oh, and Angela's a guy, because it's actually the brother that didn't get killed. It was the sister that got killed, and they raised the boy as a girl. No wonder the kid was psychologically scarred. And ends with a really kind of a chilling sound that Angela makes. Something like that. I mean, I don't know. It's hard to describe it really, but if you've seen Sleepaway Camp, you'll know what I mean. A really, really jarring noise at the end where I'm just like, okay, well. And it was actually, Sleepaway Camp was pretty damn fun. It had some really good horror elements to it. Very enjoyable. And that ending in particular, the ending is actually pretty much what got it on here. If it hadn't had that fairly jarring, but when you look back on it, expected ending, when you look back at all the clues, the fact that she wasn't getting too intimate when the boy tried to get too close to her. Well, that's what happened. That's why, because, oh yeah, Angela was a guy. No wonder the kid was screwed up and started killing people. I mean, I'm not saying that's really an excuse, but, well, that's going to happen. So yeah, Sleepaway Camp is number 25, and number 24, My Bloody Valentine, 1981 edition. 3D gets an honorable mention for being hokey and ridiculous and having some fun horror, elements to it. My Bloody Valentine, My Bloody Valentine 1981, easy for me to say, clearly, was another fun a lot of 1980s, early 90s movies actually make their appearance early on in this countdown. At least for the short term, and then we get into more modern stuff, and then a few classics near the end. My Bloody Valentine 1981 had basically this. If you've seen the remake kind of goes a little goofy with the supernatural. This one's a lot better with being straight horror. And you're not going to take over this mine. I'm going to kill people. Oh, there was this mine accident that happened. This guy is going to kill people on this particular day. Why is he doing it? Is he doing it because of the mine, because of the town, because of the curse of the town? What is he doing it for? This one's a lot more simple, yet I don't even want to say with, it's hard to describe without spoilers, but it's fairly basic to describe if you watch it. I don't want to say it's more complex, but it's more fun. The killer is very obvious from the beginning. I mean, like almost from about the first 30 minutes, if not before that. That doesn't mean the kills aren't inventive and that the guy doesn't somehow get away, by being disarmed at the end and literally running off into a collapsed mine, yet somehow he survives. I mean, it's really weird. It's implied that he doesn't actually die, even though you would think with a missing arm and blood spurting out of that, because that's kind of what happens when you miss an appendage. It's never shown that he died. Never shown that he died. But My Bloody Valentine 1981 edition, that was another thing I saw on Shudder. Again, cheap plug for Shudder. It was enjoyable. It was really, really enjoyable. Not, of course, the greatest horror movie ever, but for a slasher, for a fun time. I certainly wouldn't say that My Bloody Valentine 1981 doesn't deserve to be on here, because obviously I put it on here. The cast, there's a few people that you might recognize, but really it's a lot that just, I mean, you have the inept police, the people that know who the killer is but get killed off. And then, of course, like, you have the dopey people that are like, we're going to go after this and we die, because that's what happens in slasher movies. If people don't do stupid decisions or make stupid decisions, then the plot goes nowhere. Now we go to number 23, Cabin in the Woods. Thor is in this. The guy playing Thor. Chris Hemsworth. At least I hope I got that name right. I always screw that up. This is about if some teenagers / 20-somethings, or 20-somethings playing teenagers, which this is one of those tongue-in-cheek ones, which actually was directed. It was the, I believe, Drew Goddard. This was his first, this was his directorial debut. Josh Whedon, who wrote Buffy the Vampire Slayer and some other stuff, including he had a hand in the Avengers movies. They crafted a pretty fun, tongue-in-cheek horror movie that actually still has some pretty good horror elements to it. It went with the cliches, okay, we got these kids with cabins in the woods, and there's this, like, not studio, but this, like, underground facilities, like, government facility, trying to test people's fear and see what happens and everything, and they're sending all this stuff of, like, you know, all these, like, the people's greatest fears and all these monsters and all this psychological shit and whatever. And they've been doing this for a number of months and years and stuff like that, and everything's gone according to plan. Well, these particular ones managed to buck the system, including a couple in particular, and managed to blow the whole damn thing up. The ending's really weird, by the way, because you have this, like, weird maze, like, at one point of the kids going down this elevator and all these, like, monsters and everything and all these chambers going all around and doing all this. It's like the movie Cube if it wasn't shit, because Cube overall was shit. Even though it was a good idea, Cube was shit. It was a Twilight Zone episode, like a 45-minute Twilight Zone episode stretched out to a full movie. Not a good idea. Not a good idea to stretch it out to full. Even though I give credit where credit is due for them making a movie on a shoestring budget. But anyway, back to Cabin in the Woods. Kids buck the system. Everybody in this government facility is, like, getting attacked by all these monsters and all these creations and everything. Then a giant hand comes out and smashes, it comes out from the cabin and then smashes down on the camera. Weird stuff. I guess they had to do this to feed the ego and to, satiate the hunger of this demon that was going to flatten everybody. That's where it got a little ridiculous, but until then, actually, Cabin in the Woods was pretty damn fun. It was ridiculous, it was over the top, but it was fun. And it had some good horror elements to it. I can't say, of course, best movie ever. Not the best movie ever, but very enjoyable, very fun. And the cast was pretty cool. It was nice to see Thor in something here that was not, him being Thor, where he's a little more vulnerable, and he wasn't swinging a hammer and smashing people, even though that stuff's fun. Cabin in the Woods is one of those that is a little hard to describe unless you watch it, because of the tongue-in-cheek nature and the good fun that the actors are having, the creators are having, and clearly the fun that they're having with the audience. It's a lot of good stuff. I admittedly did not see this in theaters. I did see it on Blu-ray later, back when they still had Blockbusters open, believe it or not. That was really, it's hard to believe that even a few years ago there were Blockbusters open, and now there's none, except if you go to Alaska, which I'm not surprised by. Cabin in the Woods, a lot of fun. Now, number 22, People Under the Stairs, a criminally underrated Wes Craven movie. Two adults and a youth, the youth named Fool. Poor kid. I mean, they're black, I'm just saying. I don't know why they would name the kid Fool. I don't know if they pity him. I don't know if it was Mr. T's kid. I don't know if Mr. T, talked to his mama about this kid. I don't know. A little deep cut for you WWE fans that know what the hell I'm talking about with Mr. T. People Under the Stairs has these two adults and a kid break into their landlord's house. I guess to steal shit. Things go awry, and the kid gets trapped in there. And so does one of the adults, because one of the adults gets killed. There's a brother and sister that are keeping mutants, or keeping people under there that essentially are becoming mutants because they're under the stairs. They're actually in the cellar. So I don't know why exactly they call them necessarily under the stairs. It's not like it's Harry Potter, where they were, they literally kept him under the stairs. But for a movie, I remember this one being, it got more comedic the more times I watched it. The movie has aged surprisingly well, though. The gore is turned up big. This is one of those few standout movies in the late 80s, early 90s that, well, yes, it went to the gore and this kind of stuff and was silly and you had to have people do some stupid shit. They had a lot of fun with it. And the kid proved that, like, hey, he could make something of his life and he could set these people free, these people that were under the stairs, and beat up and, end up ending the lives of these two horrible, horrible people that are doing these awful things. Killing humans and feeding the humans to the mutant people. It's not like Subspecies, Bloodlust, Subspecies. That horrible series. Good God, that was a horrible series. What the fuck was that? But for what it was great. And Wes Craven didn't always hit a home run. R.I.P. Wes Craven. R.I.P. Wes Craven. He didn't always hit a home run with his movies. This one he did, though. I mean, a lot of times he hit a home run. I actually have another movie of his on here. And possibly even another one. You will have to see if I have just one or two. But I have for sure one. Because I don't want to spoil too much. But People Under the Stairs is a definite home run by him. Great amount of gore. Great amount of scares. Good amount of sympathy for some of the people. Some of the people under the stairs that aren't bad people. They don't know any better. All they've known is being locked down there and not being able to handle light. Which is a real shame. The kid manages to befriend one of them in particular. And then he talks to the others, I guess, however they talk. And of course there's a revolt. Because there's always a revolt in these movies. But People Under the Stairs is just a lot of fun. Just a lot of fun. Scary. And that house in particular with the two villains, the man and the woman, really, really scary. I mean, really scary. Because it's not hard to believe that some people would be like this. As scary as that is to think about. People Under the Stairs was a lot of fun. Really, just really a lot of fun. And now we go to The Ring. Number 21, The Ring, U.S. remake. Controversial, I suppose, as a Japanese remake, or as a Japanese original, was very, very good. The U.S. remake is one of the few that almost matches it, in my opinion. One, Naomi Watts. God, Naomi Watts is just great. She really is. She's gorgeous. I mean, absolutely gorgeous. She was great in this movie. Parts of it were actually filmed in Washington State. Including a few that aren't too far from me. About an hour and a half from where I live. But it uses great imagery, of course. With this movie, the plot. You watch a tape, and the girl calls you. Says 7 days. I mean, you have 7 days to die. You have 7 days until you die, unless you make a copy of the tape. One thing I want to say about the beginning of this movie is it was great, because you had two schoolgirls fighting, pillow fighting. It's like a movie I might have seen online once by mistake. Don't look through my Google history. Anyway, The Ring, then it transcends. I mean, of course, one of the girls dies, and one of the girls goes nuts, because she sees her friend die. The great thing about this one is the girl Samara. Which, by the way, if you see what she looked like in this, and then you see what she looks like now, it's like, okay, I mean, I guess you could kind of see the resemblance. It's just weird. It's just weird to see how some people grow up from being a kid, and you can see, okay, I can see that transition. And she doesn't look anything like, I thought she would have. But anyway, DeVay Chase, I believe is her name. I'm not sure what other movie she's really been in. But the thing about The Ring, you have Naomi Watts and her son, and there's this creepy vibe about it. Not like there's anything sinister going on with the family, but just like there's a divide among them. Because of all, of obviously the father not being part of the picture and this kind of stuff. Or at least, a big part of the picture. And of course, you have all the usual horror. Naomi Watts sees the tape, realizes she has to make a copy. That's why she didn't die. And then makes a copy for her son. The father says it best, Samara's father. What is with you? It's like if you dredge up a story, you spin around, it spreads like sickness. Something like that. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was like Brian Cox has said. There was a good amount, though, of horror in this. The tape, the thing with Samara, there was a lot of really, really good horror stuff with it. That part with the horse on the boat. I'm not the biggest fan of horses, in part because when I was on a friend's farm, I nearly got kicked in the head by one. The hoof missed me by about that much. To the point I could see the dirt in the hoofs. Horse just got spooked. I don't remember why. I don't even know how the hell it got spooked. Maybe it didn't like me. I don't know. Anyway, but that part where the horse, hurts itself and dies falling off the boat. That's sad. Some really, really good imagery, though. And yeah, the ending's a little hokey. She helps her son make a tape. And, of course, that's the idea, is because Samara was killed by her mother, but not killed by her mother because she ended up dying in the well and not dying from asphyxiation. No wonder Samara was evil. And then they turned the whole thing around to shit in Rings 2. Or The Ring 2. Do not watch Rings, by the way. Rings was shit. Absolute shit. Though, check out my review of it. I think I did a review of Rings. Possibly. If I didn't, I might do a review of Rings at some point. But what do you guys think so far? I'm actually going to stop it right here. What do you guys think so far of this list? I tried to be detailed on some of this stuff, and I hope you guys have enjoyed it so far. I will be doing parts of these periodically throughout the month. I hope to have this done about a week before Halloween, though, because I'm also a wrestling fan. I mean, you guys know this if you're watching this channel. I'm also a wrestling fan, so I'll be cutting some wrestling-related shows, too. We'll try to find time for this. But anyway, what do you guys think so far of this list? Do you agree? Do you disagree with the placement so far? What movies are you hoping to see on here? Like, share, comment, and subscribe. Twitter link is in the description. It's been Real Honesty with John Ritlin. I'm John Ritlin. I will see you soon.